As the gentle rain began to fall over the royal estate, the entire palace seemed to transform into something straight out of a timeless fairy tale. The grand stone walls, which had witnessed centuries of royal history, glistened beneath the soft evening light. Every raindrop reflected the warm golden glow from the palace windows, creating a breathtaking scene that felt almost magical. The towering towers, elegant balconies, and ornate rooftops appeared even more majestic as a light mist settled over the grounds, giving the entire estate an atmosphere of mystery and wonder. The marble pathways that stretched through the palace gardens shimmered like polished mirrors. Tiny pools of rainwater reflected the magnificent architecture, making it seem as though there were two royal palaces, one standing proudly above and another glowing beneath the surface of the water. Every step across these paths produced a gentle echo, blending harmoniously with the soothing rhythm of the falling rain. The peaceful sounds replaced the usual bustle of royal ceremonies, allowing nature to become the evening's most beautiful performer. The palace gardens were transformed into an enchanting paradise. Rows of perfectly trimmed hedges sparkled with crystal, clear droplets, while vibrant roses, lilies, and lavender gently swayed under the refreshing rain. Ancient oak trees stretched their wide branches over quiet walkways, offering natural shelter while their leaves released the comforting scent of fresh earth. Decorative fountains overflowed gracefully as raindrops danced across their surfaces, creating countless tiny ripples that shimmered beneath the palace lights. Even the statues of legendary kings, queens, and noble heroes seemed more lifelike, their rain-covered surfaces adding depth and character to their timeless expressions. Beyond the gardens, the expansive lawns took on a rich emerald color, appearing healthier and more vibrant with every passing minute. Birds sought refuge among the trees, while swans glided peacefully across the palace lake, leaving elegant trails through the calm water. The rain softened every sound, making the entire royal estate feel calm and deeply connected to nature. It was a rare moment when the grandeur of the palace blended perfectly with the quiet beauty of the surrounding landscape. Inside the palace, the rain created an entirely different kind of magic. Large crystal windows framed the beautiful view outside, allowing every room to become a living painting. Guests and family members paused to admire the scenery, watching the gentle streams of rain slide down the glass while warm candlelight flickered throughout the halls. Luxurious chandeliers reflected against polished floors, their glow becoming softer and more inviting as the evening grew darker. Rich velvet curtains, elegant wooden furniture, and centuries-old portraits seemed even more impressive against the peaceful backdrop of the rainy evening. The balconies overlooking the royal gardens became perfect places for quiet reflection. From there, the endless pattern of falling rain could be admired without interruption. Fresh, cool air carried the delicate fragrance of blooming flowers into the palace, creating an atmosphere that felt refreshing and comforting at the same time. The distant sound of thunder rolled gently across the horizon, never frightening, but instead adding depth to the peaceful symphony created by nature. Every corner of the palace seemed touched by the rain's quiet elegance, revealing details that often went unnoticed during busy royal events. As darkness slowly settled across the sky, thousands of tiny lights illuminated the palace grounds. Lanterns lining the pathways reflected beautifully on the wet stone, while soft golden light poured from every window, making the palace appear like a glowing jewel surrounded by silver rain. The combination of historic architecture, carefully maintained gardens, shimmering reflections, and the gentle rhythm of the rainfall created a breathtaking atmosphere that no royal celebration or grand ceremony could replicate. Every glance revealed another beautiful detail, making the evening feel timeless, peaceful, and filled with quiet wonder. Away from the public ceremonies, official speeches, and carefully planned royal appearances, this rainy evening offered something the royal family rarely experienced: precious uninterrupted time together. As the rain gently tapped against the palace windows, the formal atmosphere that usually surrounded palace life slowly faded away. The responsibilities of the crown were set aside for a few peaceful hours, allowing each family member to enjoy one another's company without the pressure of royal duties or public expectations. One by one, members of the royal family gathered in the palace's grand drawing room, where a large fireplace filled the space with warmth and comfort. The crackling fire contrasted beautifully with the cool rain outside, creating a welcoming environment that encouraged conversation and laughter. Instead of discussing official matters, They spoke about personal memories, childhood adventures, and family traditions that had been passed down through generations. These simple conversations reminded everyone that before they were kings, queens, princes, or princesses, they were a family connected by love and shared experiences. The king entered the room without the usual formality that accompanied public occasions. His royal jacket had been replaced with a comfortable evening coat, and the seriousness often seen during state events gave way to a gentle smile. He greeted each family member warmly, asking about their day, listening carefully to their stories, and sharing humorous moments from his own younger years. His relaxed presence encouraged everyone else to forget palace protocols and simply enjoy the evening together. The queen moved gracefully through the room, ensuring that every member of the family felt included. She personally poured warm tea into elegant porcelain cups and encouraged everyone to gather closer around the fireplace. Her attention was not focused on royal etiquette, but on creating a peaceful atmosphere where every conversation felt genuine. She smiled as the younger members of the family laughed freely, knowing that these ordinary moments often became the memories they cherished the most. The young prince and princess quickly forgot the strict routines that usually guided their daily lives. They exchanged playful stories, teased one another with friendly jokes, and admired the beautiful rain falling outside the palace windows. Occasionally, they rushed toward the balcony to watch lightning softly illuminate the gardens before returning inside, excitedly describing every beautiful detail they had witnessed. Their youthful excitement filled the room with energy, reminding the older generations of the joy found in life's simplest pleasures. Grandparents shared stories from decades earlier, recalling rainy evenings from their own childhood within the palace walls. They spoke about traditions that had remained unchanged despite the passing years, describing how previous generations gathered in the very same rooms during storms. Their stories painted vivid pictures of the palace's rich history, helping the younger family members understand that they were now becoming part of a legacy built upon love, resilience, and togetherness rather than titles alone. The palace staff quietly prepared a magnificent family dinner, filling the dining hall with the comforting aromas of freshly baked bread, roasted vegetables, rich soups, and carefully prepared royal recipes. The dining table was beautifully arranged with polished silverware, crystal glasses, and fresh flowers from the palace gardens. Despite the luxurious surroundings, the atmosphere remained relaxed and joyful. Conversations flowed naturally as everyone shared stories, laughed at amusing family memories, and enjoyed each other's presence far more than the lavish meal itself. As dinner continued, family members reminisced about previous celebrations, memorable journeys, and unexpected adventures that had strengthened their relationships over the years. They looked through beautifully preserved photo albums containing images of royal weddings, birthdays, charity events, and quiet family holidays. Every photograph sparked another story, another smile, and another reminder that the greatest treasures within the palace were not its priceless artwork or magnificent architecture, but the countless memories created by the people who called it home. The younger children eagerly listened to tales of brave kings, compassionate queens, and inspiring ancestors who had faced difficult times with courage and wisdom. These stories were not shared as formal lessons, but as heartfelt conversations that strengthened the family's connection to its history. The children asked curious questions, laughed at amusing moments, and imagined themselves walking through the palace centuries earlier, surrounded by the same traditions that continued to shape their lives. Outside, the steady rainfall wrapped the palace in peaceful silence, making the warmth inside feel even more comforting. Every room glowed with soft golden light, and every shared smile, quiet conversation, and burst of laughter reflected a sense of unity that no royal ceremony could ever fully capture. For these precious hours, the palace was not a symbol of power or prestige, but simply a family home where generations came together to enjoy each other's company, appreciate the beauty of the evening, and strengthen the bonds that as the rain continued to fall gently outside, the royal palace embraced traditions that had been preserved for generations. These customs were not written only in official records or displayed during grand ceremonies. They lived in the everyday moments shared by the royal family. A rainy evening was considered one of the most peaceful occasions to slow down, gather together, and honor the values passed down by kings and queens long before the present generation was born. The sound of the rain created the perfect backdrop for traditions that celebrated family, heritage, and quiet elegance. In one of the palace's oldest sitting rooms, servants carefully prepared an elegant tea service that reflected centuries of royal hospitality. Fine porcelain teacups decorated with delicate gold patterns were placed neatly on polished silver trays. Freshly brewed tea filled the room with its comforting aroma, while warm scones, buttery biscuits, delicate pastries, and small finger sandwiches were arranged with remarkable attention to detail. Every item had its place, following traditions that had remained almost unchanged for decades. The tea was served not simply as a meal but as an opportunity for meaningful conversation and shared moments of peace. Family members gathered comfortably around beautifully carved wooden tables, holding warm cups of tea while watching the rain glide gently down the tall palace windows. Steam rose softly from each cup, blending with the warmth of the fireplace and creating an atmosphere of complete relaxation. Conversations unfolded naturally, with everyone speaking freely about personal experiences, memorable journeys, books they had recently read, and dreams for the future. Without the presence of official guests or formal obligations, every discussion felt sincere and deeply personal. As evening settled over the palace, the royal musicians quietly entered the grand music hall. Dressed in elegant formal attire, they took their places with instruments that had entertained generations of monarchs. The soft notes of a grand piano echoed through the palace, joined by the graceful sounds of violins, cellos, and a delicate harp. Classical melodies filled the air, blending perfectly with the gentle rhythm of the rainfall outside. Every piece of music seemed carefully chosen to match the peaceful mood of the evening, transforming the palace into a place where history and beauty existed together in perfect harmony. Some members of the royal family closed their eyes while listening to the music, allowing the melodies to carry them through memories of earlier years. Others quietly admired the musicians' remarkable talent, appreciating the dedication required to preserve these timeless performances. The rain outside became part of the orchestra itself, its steady rhythm adding a natural accompaniment that no composer could ever fully recreate. Nearby, the palace library offered another cherished tradition. Shelves stretching from floor to ceiling held thousands of carefully preserved books, many of them hundreds of years old. Leather-bound volumes filled with royal history, poetry, philosophy, and family records lined every wall. During rainy evenings, it had long been customary for family members to gather in this peaceful room to read, exchange ideas, and discover stories from previous generations. Comfortable armchairs placed beside glowing lamps invited everyone to settle in with a favorite book, while the rain quietly continued outside. Older family members often selected historical journals or handwritten letters written by former kings and queens. These documents revealed personal thoughts, difficult decisions, and emotional moments that were rarely known beyond the palace walls. Younger members eagerly listened as these stories were shared aloud, gaining a deeper understanding of the responsibilities, sacrifices, and compassion that shaped their family's legacy. Every page strengthened their connection to the past, while reminding them of the values they were expected to carry into the future. As night grew darker, another treasured tradition began in the palace's magnificent banquet room. Rather than hosting an extravagant royal feast, the family enjoyed an intimate candlelit dinner reserved only for close relatives. Long dining tables were beautifully decorated with fresh flowers gathered from the palace gardens, polished silver candlesticks, sparkling crystal glasses, and elegant china that had been used by generations before them. Hundreds of candle flames danced gently throughout the room, creating soft reflections that made the entire hall glow with warmth and elegance. The meal itself honored both royal heritage and seasonal ingredients. Skilled palace chefs prepared comforting soups, roasted meats, freshly baked bread, garden vegetables, and traditional desserts that had become family favorites over many decades. Every course was served with quiet precision, yet the atmosphere remained relaxed and joyful. Family members complimented the chefs, exchanged recipes remembered from childhood, and laughed over stories connected to favorite dishes served during past celebrations. After dinner, another long, standing custom brought everyone back to the grand fireplace. Comfortable chairs were arranged in a circle while the oldest members of the family shared stories of remarkable kings, compassionate queens, courageous princes, and wise princesses whose lives had shaped the kingdom. These stories were filled with moments of bravery, kindness, forgiveness, and resilience rather than simply tales of power or victory. The younger generation listened with complete attention, imagining the palace as it had appeared centuries earlier during similar rainy evenings. The children often asked thoughtful questions about the ancestors whose portraits decorated the palace walls. They wanted to know how they overcame challenges, what inspired their decisions, and how they remained devoted to their people despite enormous responsibilities. The elders answered each question patiently, using every story as an opportunity to pass along wisdom, humility, and respect for tradition. These conversations became living lessons, preserving history not through books alone, but through personal storytelling shared from one generation to the next. Throughout the evening, the rain continued to fall steadily across the palace grounds, wrapping the ancient building in an atmosphere of peace and reflection. The gentle sound outside blended with quiet conversations, classical music, the crackling fireplace, and the soft glow of candlelight, allowing every tradition to feel even more meaningful. Each custom, whether sharing tea, listening to music, reading historical letters, enjoying a family dinner, or telling stories by the fire, strengthened the royal family's bond with one another, while honoring the generations who had cherished these same moments long before them. Although the evening had been carefully planned as a quiet family gathering, the rain brought with it a series of unexpected moments that no one could have anticipated. These surprises transformed an already beautiful night into one that would be remembered for generations. Sometimes, the most meaningful memories are never part of a carefully arranged schedule. They happen naturally, without warning, reminding everyone that life's greatest treasures often appear when people simply allow themselves to enjoy the present moment. As the rain softened into a gentle drizzle, one of the younger princes stood near the palace window, gazing at the sparkling gardens below. The pathways shimmered beneath the lantern lights, and the flowers glistened with tiny droplets of water. Unable to resist the beauty outside, he quietly suggested taking a walk through the royal gardens. At first, everyone laughed at the unusual idea. Members of the royal family were rarely seen wandering through the gardens in the rain, especially during the evening. Yet the peaceful atmosphere made the suggestion feel irresistible, and within minutes, curiosity replaced hesitation. Servants quickly brought elegant umbrellas in royal colors, while others offered warm coats and scarves. Instead of preparing for another formal event, the family excitedly stepped outside together. The cool evening air carried the fresh scent of rain, soaked roses, lavender, and ancient cedar trees. Every breath felt refreshing, and the gentle drizzle added a magical touch to the palace grounds. The marble walkways reflected the glowing palace lights, making every step feel as though they were walking through a painting. As they wandered deeper into the gardens, the usual rules of royal etiquette slowly disappeared. The younger princess reached out her hands to catch the falling raindrops, laughing as tiny drops landed on her fingertips. Her joyful excitement soon spread to everyone around her. The children skipped across the pathways, carefully avoiding larger puddles at first, but before long they began splashing through the shallow water with carefree laughter. Even the adults could not hide their smiles as they watched the younger generation enjoy such simple pleasures without concern for titles or appearances. The king paused beside an old stone bridge overlooking a peaceful pond where rain created endless circles across the water's surface. He watched the reflections of the palace shimmer with every ripple and remarked how different the palace looked when viewed through nature's changing moods. Standing beside him, the queen admired the glowing lanterns reflected in the water, noting that she had walked these gardens many times before but had never experienced them quite like this. The rain had revealed details that were often overlooked during bright, busy days. As they continued along the winding garden paths, they discovered hidden corners that felt completely transformed by the weather. Ivy-covered archways sparkled with crystal-clear droplets, while climbing roses bent gently beneath the weight of the rain. Small stone benches, usually occupied during sunny afternoons, now appeared peaceful and inviting beneath the soft glow of nearby lanterns. Every turn revealed another breathtaking scene, making the gardens feel larger and more enchanting than ever before. One of the palace photographers, who had quietly accompanied the family from a respectful distance, recognized that these moments were unlike any official portrait session. Instead of perfectly arranged poses, he captured genuine smiles, spontaneous laughter, warm embraces, and joyful conversations. the children chasing one another beneath umbrellas, grandparents smiling proudly at their grandchildren, the king helping the queen across a wet pathway, and siblings laughing together created photographs filled with authentic emotion. These images reflected not the formality of royalty, but the warmth of a loving family. As they approached one of the palace fountains, the rain suddenly began to slow. The clouds slowly parted, allowing the evening sky to brighten with soft golden light from the setting sun. Members of the family instinctively looked toward the horizon, where an extraordinary rainbow stretched gracefully across the sky above the palace towers. Its brilliant colors reflected beautifully against the wet gardens, creating a breathtaking view that left everyone standing in quiet admiration. The younger children pointed excitedly toward the rainbow, unable to contain their amazement. They had seen rainbows before, but never one appearing directly above their own home. The older members of the family exchanged gentle smiles, recognizing how rare and unforgettable the moment truly was. The colorful arc seemed to connect the palace with the surrounding countryside, creating a picture so beautiful that it appeared almost unreal. Birds slowly emerged from the shelter of the trees as the rain eased, filling the gardens with cheerful songs. A family of swans glided gracefully across the palace lake, their white feathers glowing against the calm water. Butterflies cautiously returned to the flower beds, while droplets continued to sparkle like tiny diamonds on every leaf and blossom. Nature itself seemed to celebrate alongside the royal family, adding another layer of beauty to an already unforgettable evening. The palace staff, watching discreetly from nearby balconies, smiled as they witnessed the royal family enjoying themselves with such genuine happiness. It was unusual to see kings, queens, princes, and princesses completely free from ceremony and public expectations. There were no official speeches, no formal greetings, and no carefully rehearsed appearances. Instead, there were shared jokes, spontaneous conversations, playful moments, and quiet reflections that revealed the human side of royal life. As darkness gradually settled across the gardens once more, thousands of tiny lights illuminated the pathways and flower beds. The remaining raindrops clinging to branches and petals reflected the lantern light like countless sparkling jewels. The cool breeze carried the comforting fragrance of fresh earth and blooming flowers throughout the estate. Every unexpected moment. The invitation to walk in the rain, the carefree laughter of the children, the genuine family photographs, the appearance of the magnificent rainbow, and the peaceful beauty revealed by nature, added another unforgettable chapter to an evening that became extraordinary not because it was perfectly planned, but because it unfolded naturally in ways no one could have imagined. Held them together. As the peaceful evening continued, every member of the royal family began to realize that the true beauty of the night had very little to do with the palace itself. The magnificent halls, priceless works of art, sparkling chandeliers, and luxurious furnishings created an impressive setting, but they were only the background to something far more meaningful. What truly gave life to the palace was the love shared among the people within its walls. On this rainy evening, the family discovered once again that genuine happiness could never be measured by wealth, titles, or royal privileges, but by the quiet moments spent together. The palace had always symbolized power, tradition, and prestige. Visitors from around the world admired its grand architecture, beautifully decorated rooms, and centuries of royal history. They often imagined that life inside such a magnificent residence must be perfect in every way. Yet those who lived there understood a different truth. Behind the elegant gates and golden crowns were ordinary human emotions: joy, worry, hope, disappointment, gratitude, and love. Just like any other family, they experienced moments that reminded them what truly mattered. The gentle rhythm of the rain encouraged everyone to slow down. Without realizing it, conversations became calmer, movements became quieter, and the usual pace of palace life seemed to disappear. There were no urgent meetings, no ceremonial preparations, and no crowded schedules demanding attention. Instead, every member of the family had the rare opportunity to simply be present. They listened carefully to one another, noticed the beauty surrounding them, and appreciated moments that would normally pass unnoticed during busy days. The king found himself standing beside one of the large palace windows, watching raindrops slowly race down the glass. From that quiet spot, he reflected on the many responsibilities that came with wearing the crown. Every decision he made affected countless lives, and every public appearance required confidence and strength. Yet as he looked around the room filled with his family, he realized that none of those responsibilities could replace the comfort of hearing familiar laughter or sharing peaceful conversations with the people he loved most. The crown represented duty, but family represented purpose. Nearby, the queen quietly observed the younger members of the family enjoying themselves without concern for royal expectations. Their laughter echoed naturally through the palace halls, untouched by formality or ceremony. Watching them reminded her that childhood should be filled with wonder rather than constant discipline. She smiled as she remembered her own younger years, when rainy days had brought excitement instead of inconvenience. The simple joy of watching children laugh freely became more valuable than any expensive jewel displayed within the palace treasury. The prince wandered through one of the palace corridors lined with portraits of former kings and queens. Each painting represented greatness, achievement, and historical importance. However, as he studied their expressions, he wondered what moments had truly brought those rulers happiness. He imagined that beyond the victories, royal ceremonies, and political decisions, they too must have treasured quiet evenings spent with family, sharing stories beside a warm fire while rain fell gently outside. The realization made him understand that every generation, regardless of status, searched for the same simple comforts. The princess found herself sitting beside the fireplace with a warm cup of tea resting in her hands. She watched the flickering flames dance while listening to the soft rain outside. Surrounded by priceless furniture and magnificent decorations, she discovered that the greatest comfort came not from luxury, but from the peaceful atmosphere created by the people around her. Every smile exchanged across the room, every shared memory, and every heartfelt conversation filled the palace with warmth that no decoration could ever provide. As the evening unfolded, even the palace staff noticed the difference. The servants who had dedicated years of loyal service quietly observed the relaxed atmosphere with gentle smiles. They had witnessed countless royal banquets, state dinners, and formal celebrations attended by distinguished guests from around the world. Yet they understood that evenings like this carried a special kind of happiness. There were no elaborate performances or impressive displays of wealth. Instead, kindness, gratitude, and genuine appreciation filled every room. Members of the royal family thanked the staff personally for their efforts, making everyone feel valued regardless of rank or position. Outside, the rain continued nourishing the palace gardens, reminding everyone of nature's quiet generosity. The flowers did not bloom because they were admired, and the ancient trees did not grow because they stood within royal grounds. They simply fulfilled their purpose without seeking recognition. This peaceful scene inspired thoughtful reflection among the family. Just as nature flourished through patience and care, meaningful relationships also grew stronger through kindness, understanding, and time rather than material possessions. One conversation naturally turned toward gratitude. Family members began sharing the simple things they appreciated most in life. Some spoke about peaceful mornings overlooking the gardens, others mentioned treasured family traditions, while the younger children excitedly described favorite memories of playing together throughout the palace grounds. Surprisingly, none of them spoke first about expensive gifts, luxurious clothing, or royal privileges. Their happiest memories centered around shared experiences, meaningful conversations, acts of kindness, and moments of togetherness that could never be purchased. The grandparents gently reminded the younger generation that every palace, regardless of its beauty, was only a building without the people who filled it with love. They explained that history remembered great rulers, not only for their wealth or military victories, but also for their compassion, humility, and devotion to those closest to them. They encouraged the children to value character above appearance and generosity above status, lessons that had guided the royal family through generations of triumphs and challenges alike. The rain outside became a quiet symbol of renewal. Every drop cleansed the gardens, refreshed the air, and brought new life to the landscape surrounding the palace. In much the same way, the peaceful evening refreshed the hearts of everyone gathered inside. It reminded them to pause amid busy responsibilities, appreciate the people who stood beside them, and recognize that life's greatest blessings were often hidden within ordinary moments. The luxurious surroundings remained impressive, but they faded into the background as love, gratitude, compassion, and family became the true treasures that filled the royal palace that unforgettable rainy evening. As the hours quietly passed and the rain continued to fall over the royal estate. No one inside the palace realized that they were experiencing an evening that would one day become part of the family's treasured history. It was not marked by a royal coronation, a grand wedding, or an important political event. There were no large crowds gathered outside the palace gates, no official ceremonies, and no historic declarations. Instead, this remarkable evening earned its place in royal memory because of its simplicity, its warmth, and the unforgettable emotions shared by every generation of the family. The palace had witnessed countless significant events throughout its long history. Its grand halls had welcomed kings, queens, presidents, ambassadors, and distinguished guests from around the world. Lavish banquets had celebrated victories, royal weddings had united noble families, and historic meetings had shaped the future of the kingdom. Yet, despite all these magnificent occasions, the family would later speak of this quiet, rainy evening with a special affection that surprised even themselves. It became a reminder that the most meaningful chapters of history are often written during the calmest moments. As the family gathered around the fireplace once more, someone suggested preserving the memories of the evening in the palace's private family journal. This beautifully bound book had been carefully maintained for generations, recording not only official milestones but also personal stories that revealed the human side of royal life. Every generation contributed its own memories, ensuring that future descendants would understand not only the events that shaped the monarchy, but also the values that held the family together. The Queen carefully opened the journal, its pages filled with elegant handwriting from kings and queens who had lived centuries earlier. Some entries described moments of celebration, while others spoke about difficult times overcome through courage and unity. Inspired by those memories, she began writing about the peaceful rainy evening, describing the laughter echoing through the palace halls, the comforting warmth of the fireplace, the beautiful reflections across the gardens, and the rare opportunity for every member of the family to simply enjoy one another's company without the distractions of royal responsibilities. Nearby, the palace photographer quietly organized the photographs captured throughout the evening. Unlike official royal portraits, these images revealed genuine smiles, spontaneous laughter, playful conversations, and quiet moments of reflection. There were photographs of children watching the rain from palace windows, grandparents sharing stories beside the fire, the king and queen strolling through rain-covered gardens, and the entire family gathered around the dinner table, illuminated by candlelight. Every photograph captured emotion rather than perfection, preserving memories that would become more valuable with each passing year. The palace librarians carefully stored these photographs alongside handwritten letters, journals, and family records that documented generations of royal life. Future descendants would one day discover these collections, gaining a rare glimpse into an evening when the royal family set aside ceremony and simply enjoyed being together. These simple images would speak more powerfully than official portraits ever could, revealing that behind every crown stood ordinary people who treasured love, laughter, and meaningful relationships. As conversations continued late into the evening, the grandparents reflected on how quickly time passes. They reminded the younger generation that moments like these never remain exactly the same. Children eventually grow into adults, responsibilities increase, and new chapters of life begin. They encouraged everyone to appreciate evenings like this while they could, explaining that memories become life's greatest inheritance because they remain long after material possessions lose their importance. The young prince listened thoughtfully as these stories unfolded. Looking around the room, he realized that every person present represented a different chapter of the family's history. His grandparents carried the wisdom of the past, his parents guided the present with responsibility and compassion, and he and his siblings represented the future. Sitting together beneath one roof while rain gently fell outside created a powerful sense of continuity that connected every generation despite the passing of time. The princess quietly admired the portraits decorating the palace walls. She imagined that the kings and queens, whose faces appeared in those paintings, had also experienced evenings filled with family conversations, peaceful reflections, and moments of quiet happiness. Although history remembered them for their leadership and accomplishments, she believed that their most treasured memories were probably much like the one unfolding before her. Simple evenings, surrounded by those they loved most. Outside, the rain gradually became lighter, leaving behind sparkling gardens washed clean by nature. The palace grounds appeared even more beautiful beneath the glow of lanterns, while the cool evening breeze carried the fresh scent of flowers through open windows. The peaceful landscape seemed to reflect the calm that had settled within every member of the family. There was no urgency, no ceremony, and no need for impressive displays. The beauty of the evening existed entirely in its quiet authenticity. As midnight approached, the palace slowly grew quieter. Servants carefully extinguished candles one by one, musicians gently packed away their instruments, and family members prepared to retire for the night. Before leaving, many paused for one final glance through the large palace windows, watching the last gentle raindrops fall across the moonlit gardens. No one wanted the evening to end because each person sensed that something truly special had taken place. Years later, whenever family members gathered for celebrations or important occasions, someone would inevitably recall that unforgettable rainy evening. Stories would be retold about the walk through the gardens, the spontaneous laughter, the warm conversations beside the fireplace, the beautiful rainbow appearing over the palace, and the peaceful atmosphere that filled every room. New generations would listen with fascination, wishing they could have experienced that remarkable night themselves. Parents would share the story with their children, grandparents would add details that had almost been forgotten, and each retelling would preserve the memory with even greater affection. Visitors touring the palace would continue admiring its magnificent architecture, priceless treasures, and historic significance, unaware that one of the family's most cherished memories had nothing to do with wealth or ceremony. Hidden within the palace archives, preserved in journals, photographs, and heartfelt stories, remained the legacy of a quiet, rainy evening that reminded every generation that the greatest moments in royal history are not always created by crowns, power, or grand celebrations, but by love shared within the walls of a place proudly called home. Suitable ending as the final raindrops disappeared into the quiet night and the palace lights continued to glow with gentle warmth. Every member of the royal family carried something far more valuable than a memory of a beautiful evening. They carried a renewed appreciation for the moments that truly define a family. The crowns, royal titles, magnificent halls, and priceless treasures would always remain symbols of their heritage, but it was the laughter shared around the fireplace, the peaceful walk through the rain-soaked gardens, the heartfelt conversations, and the simple joy of being together that would stay in their hearts forever. The palace itself seemed to stand a little taller that night, not because of its grand architecture, but because it had once again become a place filled with love, kindness, and genuine happiness. The rain had washed more than just the gardens. It had cleared busy minds, softened hearts, and reminded everyone that even the busiest lives deserve moments of peace and reflection. Long after the candles had been extinguished and the palace had fallen silent, the story of that rainy evening continued to live on. It was shared with future generations, written into family journals, remembered through treasured photographs, and spoken about whenever loved ones gathered together. It became a reminder that history is not only created through great victories or royal ceremonies, but also through quiet moments that bring people closer together. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. No matter where we come from or what we possess, the memories we create with the people we love become the richest treasures we will ever own. Time moves forward, seasons change, and even the grandest palaces grow older, but moments filled with love, gratitude, and togetherness remain timeless. So the next time you hear the gentle sound of rain outside your window, take a moment to slow down, appreciate the people around you, and create memories that will last a lifetime. Because sometimes, the most beautiful evenings are not the ones filled with luxury or celebration. They are the quiet ones that fill our hearts with peace. Thank you for joining us on this unforgettable journey through the most beautiful rainy evening at the Royal Palace. If you enjoyed this royal story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming royal family stories, emotional documentaries, and inspiring tales. Until next time, stay safe, stay inspired, and may every rainy evening bring a little more warmth, hope, and happiness into your life.